So buttons and become a tailor. So what we'll do today is we'll look at unit, what the heck is it? I believe it's unit 5. We're looking at real ear, early real ear measurement. So this is now leaving fitting methods and stuff like that kind of behind. We're focusing more on the mechanics of the real ear and the stuff and things as to how it works. But I've noticed in this particular PowerPoint as well, there's a bit of a review in it. And I always think that that's I have no problem doing that. So without any further ado, I'll look first at the notes here. And there's about 5 pages of notes in this particular unit. We'll take only 2 weeks to go through it, though. But we're going to be just kind of reviewing what we looked at in terms of functional gain. We will then look at some real ear principles. And we'll actually highlight this fact. A survey taken recently in the States revealed only 60% of audiologists are using real ear. So kind of trippy. When you keep moving through here, real ear probe tube components. We'll look at the particular components, the mic, the probe mic, the stimuli that are commonly used. We'll look at where the client sits and why, and the calibration thereof, calibrating real ear measurement and why it's done. Positioning the probe tube. Sam, you've probably done this 1,000 times, but not what the heck, why not? Just take a look-see. And then we'll look at some of these terms now. These terms are these are old real ear terms. But I think in order to appreciate the present, it's very important to be able to appreciate the past. It's these guys right here. Those 3. We don't do those 3 anymore. Yeah, Roger, I see a hand up here. Hang on here.
Dr. Veneman, are you able to unlock Unit 5 in Canvas? Because it's locked and I couldn't get any of the paperwork printed off.
Oh.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up too, so I'm glad you said that, Roger, because it's locked.
Okay, well, what the heck? I don't know if I can lock it or unlock it. What the heck? I think Lynn Royer does that, but I mean, I can always go and see. What the heck? Well, let's see. Why don't I share screen here? And
I mean, I can always watch this again and get it or unlock. I can make my notes, but
let me just see something here. You see where I am, right? Canvas. I'm going in on it here. Just taking a look and let these guys pop up. Okay. And scroll down here. We are at this one here. Okay, now, once that is okay, there we are, coursework. And then I'll go into Unit 5. And, okay, now what is in this here? Early real ear. So there's the 2 things. So I'm not sure, see, I click on here, preview the document. Oh, that's, yeah. So, I mean, I can look at it. Maybe I'm able to do it because I'm an instructor in the course or something. But, see, there it is. I mean, I can see it. I don't know. And there's a Zoom session from last week that we did. And this is an old, March 27. March 27, yeah, that's from last year. These are old ones. I'm going to be deleting these. When I do that this evening, I'll delete these. But no, I'm not sure where you see it locked. I'm not sure how that works, Roger, but I will sure find out for you. Okay? Yeah, I'll sure find out from Lynn. I'll send her an email right after this, and we'll get that straightened out, because I'm not sure how the student view of this is. Like, where are you guys seeing that it's locked?
In the unit menu.
In the unit menu.
You can't even click on 5.
Oh, is that so? Okay, I can, I guess, because I'm an instructor. I'll tell Lynn about that. Okay, what the heck? Oh, some people's kids. All right. Anyway, I'll just show you this, and what we'll do today then, if you do stick around, Roger and Sam, we'll just take a walk about. We'll take a walk about. We'll pretend we're from the land down under. And we'll just take a walk about and take a look. See, eh? Yeah, quite. All right. So here we go. Look at some early real ear. and then looking at a comparison of early fitting methods that you've covered before, all of these based on the half gain rule. Meanwhile, behind the fitting method scene, real ear measures emerged in 1988. And keep in mind, the fitting method targets didn't change a bit. Just the measurement method did. Now, here is a picture that I wanted to show last week, and I couldn't seem to pull it up here. I had Rene Ramirez was on the session, and I was trying to pull up the 2cc coupler, the real ear to coupler difference. So real ear is not the same, of course, as a 2cc coupler. So if you're looking at a frequency response here on the screen, and it's the dotted line, the dashed line, that might be on some ANSI test. You had the hearing aid connected to a 2cc coupler, and you were running an ANSI test, and you got this. If you wanted to predict what would actually happen in a human ear, when you're looking at the human ear canal and it's closed, it's 1.5 cubic centimeters. It ain't 2. The 2cc coupler has 2 cubic centimeters between the mic and the hearing aid, or the mic and yeah. So you've got a volume of air, and that's meant to imitate the volume of air that's trapped between your hearing aid and your eardrum. So when you're measuring on an ANSI test, you got the hearing aid hooked up to the 2cc coupler, and you got the measurement mic, and you got 2 cubic centimeters of air. They adopted that in 1959, way back, the USA did. And ANSI bought it, and they swallowed it hook, line, and sinker. And even though people have known for years and years that the human ear canal, the air space between the end of the hearing aid and the eardrum is smaller than a 2cc coupler, ANSI is as slow as molasses in January, so nothing happens with ANSI. So basically, real ear to coupler difference is the yellow. If you look below 1,000 hertz, you'll see 5 dB differences between the solid and the dashed line. If you look above 1,000 hertz, you'll see about a 10 decibel difference between the dashed and the solid line. So if you ever saw a frequency response on an ANSI test on a 2cc coupler, and you wanted to estimate what was that really going to do in the human ear, I would just add 5 dB below 1,000 hertz and add 10 dB above 1,000 hertz, and basically you'll get a pretty good idea of what that hearing aid will do in the average human ear. Okay? And real ear takes you even a step closer, because real ear says, forget about the average ear. What about Roger Callahan's ear or Sam Christensen's ear? Okay, because your ear canals are different. So real ear takes you even closer. So you got the 2cc coupler, then you got RECD, which takes you to the average human ear, and then you've got real ear, which is measuring the hearing aid on the individual. And you're able to see exactly what you got. So moving on from this slide then, people who fit hearing aids that aren't using real ear, that's like a first fit is a shot in the dark. And this ad came out from a real ear manufacturer years ago, and it's still out there today. We think we're so cool because we have all this great digital hearing aid technology, but too often, we let the software do the walking and the talking. And we don't always verify with objective measures, is the hearing aid doing what we think it's doing? And as the software might show what's going on the left, the dirty truth of the matter is that on the right, here might be targets for average speech inputs, and look where the hearing aid is actually sitting. So you might be not 4, not 14, you might be 40 dB shy of target, when meanwhile the manufacturer's software said you were right on. Now, I'll stop there for a second. Manufacturer's software is not really the culprit. They are not testing things in real time. They're looking at the gain of the hearing aid plus the real ear to coupler difference plus the mic location effect plus X, Y, and Z, and they're coming up with a sum total number. When you're doing real ear, it's all happening in real time. All those things are happening at the same time. So manufacturer software is thinking like blocks. It's going this plus this plus this is going to equal a handful of stuff. And Real Ear is doing it all in real time. So Real Ear is giving you more the exact picture, and the software is giving you a prediction. So Real Ear, verifies, of course, software predicts. Quite simple. So basically, sensory neural loss, as you've well known, with its reduced dynamic range plus linear hearing aids equals the half-gain method. And really focus on this slide to really internalize fitting methods, because that's essentially how they're based. All of it. This is the spinal cord. And how was it done? Linear fitting methods based on half-gain rule. Lybarger, 1944. Linear circuits were the state of the art. Same gain for all input levels. You can't mirror an audiogram with full-on linear gain, because linear gain will give too much output at louder inputs. Lybarger found people preferred half-gain, used trial and error with sensory neural loss. The half-gain rule is still in use. It's the basis and underlying spinal cord of fitting methods today. And the hilarity of our field is that no one method has been proven to be the best for speech intelligibility in noise. And that's no one's fault. It's because the retina, in quotes, of the ear itself is damaged. If all hearing loss were conductive, we would have the fitting method singular. Here's our good old functional gain. This is how it was all done. It had to arithmetically calculate its target gain for any particular fitting method. If it was half gain, if it was Berger, Pogo, Libby, or Now, you'd have to calculate where you wanted your A's to be, based where your A to B to C, where you wanted your A's to be located. Because the Berger would probably have the A higher up at 2,000 hertz and at 3,000 as well as at 4. Half gain is simply cutting the thresholds in half. Okay, so you predict where you wanted your letter A's to be, and then you'd put the hearing aid on the person at a user volume control, set him in front of a speaker 1 meter away, and recalculate his thresholds. And you would hope that the aided responses would match the letter A's that you had written on your audiogram. Now remember, you're sitting there doing with a pen and pencil and an eraser. You're sitting there looking at Berger or Pogo or Libby or Now, calculating according to what their formula is, where you'd want these to be, and you did that on those. That was your target, and you did that, of course, because in the hope, in the faith, in the belief that if you increased the thresholds by X, Y, and Z, whether it was by half gain, Berger, Pogo, Libby, or Now, whichever method you believed in, your ended result would be that inputs of speech, that's 65 dB SPL or 55 dB HL, and it's a good handle to have that in your back pocket. What is average speech in dB SPL? 65 to 70. What's average speech in dB HL on the audiogram? 50 to 60. It's about a 10 dB difference, and that's because of minimal audible pressure, MAP, because the difference between HL and SPL at the speech frequencies. So the differences in HL and SPL are about 10 dB. Healthy, handy to know. So here you go. So whatever philosophy you believed in, you set your A's to the target of that method, and your hope was that aided speech outputs would be sitting halfway between the thresholds and loudness discomfort levels for speech. Now, phone's ringing here, but I got to ignore it because I'm teaching class. I'll slide it underneath the cover. Okay, so now we move on and to Real Ear. So that I remember clearly when Real Ear started. I remember as clear as a bell. It was 1988. I had just graduated with my master's degree from audiology. I was a brand new audiologist, and there was instrumentation called the Rastronics. Rastronics, Rastronics. And it today doesn't even exist anymore. But it showed basically this. So insertion gain. No longer looking at functional gain. Always remember the differences. Functional gain is behavioral. The difference between unaided thresholds under headphones and aided thresholds in a sound field with the hearing aid on. If you increase the thresholds by half, you'd get this. Then came Real Ear. The methods were all the same. DSL didn't exist. Now 1 didn't exist. Now 2 didn't exist. None of it. Okay? It was Burger, Pogo, Libby. But this was Real Ear. And that's why I keep saying to people that Real Ear and fitting methods developed intertwined. Okay? Like carrots in a garden that grew around each other. Each one affected the other one. And that's why it's really kind of strange to teach a course in Real Ear without referring to the fitting methods, because they are inter-frickin-twined. So when we're looking here at what happened in Real Ear, you first put a probe tube in the guy's ear canal and you measured his Real Ear unaided response. And if I can show a good picture of what that probe tube might look like, let's find it. Real nice and quick down here. Let's look at that guy. Right here. So there it sits. You're jamming the probe tube all the way to the guy's eardrum, almost touching it, not quite. And you're having sound from a speaker about 18 inches away, and it's usually in front of the person. And the sound from the speaker is going, it's going from low to high, 125, 250, 500, 1,000, 2,000, and it's coming out of the speaker at 55 dBSPL. Why 55? The reason why is because 55 is a little bit louder than ambient room noise. Ambient room noise is 40. So if you have the sound coming out at 55, it's nice and quiet, but yet it's there, it's audible, but you don't really care. You're looking at the outer ear canal resonance. So with that tube in the ear canal, looking much like this, okay? If 125 hertz comes out of the speaker at 55, I got an itchy nose. 125 comes out of the speaker at 55. What am I measuring at the eardrum at the tube? I'm measuring 125 at 55. Nothing's added, nothing's gained, nothing there. 250 hertz coming out of the speaker at 55. What am I measuring at the end of the tube here? 55. 1,000 hertz coming out of the speaker at 55. What am I measuring here? 55. Nothing added. 2,000 hertz coming out of the speaker at 55. What am I measuring here? 75. Whoa! I got an increase of 20. 3,000 hertz coming out of the speaker at 55. What am I measuring now? 75 again, about 20. I'm getting a gain of 20. 4,000 hertz at 55 coming out of the speaker. What am I measuring here? 75. 8,000 hertz coming out of the speaker at 55. What am I measuring over here? 8,000 hertz at 55. Oh, the resonance is gone. Okay? And that's how we discovered unaided ear canal resonance. Well, that's how we discovered the outer ear canal resonance, was by doing Real Ear on the outer ear canal. And so that shape, that REUR, Real Ear Unaided Response, shown over in this picture here, way up here now again, okay? I'm moving through. Going. There. This yellow REUR, that's it. There's the shape. That's what's shown. The peak is at 2,700 hertz. It's adding about 25. So now look at the numbers carefully. Follow my cursor here. 55, 55, 55. That whole tone. Broop, broop. They called that a sweep tone. And that sweep tone came out of the speaker at 55 all the way across. But my outer ear canal resonance gave this gift, 20 to 25 dB. And here it should be said to be committed into memory. Remember these. These are values knowledgeable for a quiz or a midterm or a final. What's the outer ear canal resonance? It begins at around 1,500 hertz. And it ends at 4,000 hertz, just past 4,000. And where's the peak? 2,700 hertz. Essentially, that's the outer ear canal resonance. Open. Make sure we realize that the outer ear canal, like this coffee cup, closed at one end, open at the other end. Okay? The outer ear canal as a quarter wave resonator is going to resonate with sound waves 4 times its length. So always remember that. Frequency is speed of sound over wavelength. Wavelength is speed of sound over frequency. And if you calculated and did the math, the outer ear canal is 1 inch long, so it's going to resonate with sound waves 4 inches long. What's the speed of sound? 1,130 feet per second. So frequency is speed of sound over the wavelength. Frequency is speed of sound, 1,130, divided by 4 inches. But how do you divide feet by inches? You can't. One's apples and one's oranges. So you're going to have to change the inches into feet. And what's 4 inches? 1/3 of a foot. So do the math and do 1,130 divided by 0.333, because that's 1/3, equals 3,393. 3,393, basically 3,400. Well, if that's the case, then why doesn't this look like 3,400? The reason why is because the ear canal is made of flesh and bone. It's not like the cup, okay? Because it's made of flesh and bone, that 3,400 hertz is spread out. It's kind of fudged. And that is why the outer ear canal resonance begins around 1,500 hertz, peaks at 2,700 hertz, continues out to past 4,000 hertz, and then drops. Okay? So these are the tenets of Real Ear. This is how Real Ear began. They figured all of this stuff out so that they could do fittings quicker. So they focused on this big time. Real ear unaided response. That's your open, unaided ear canal resonance. Then they carefully held the tube in place. You needed about 4 hands to do this. You held the tube in place and you took the hearing aid and you put it on top. You just inserted it in. Make sure you don't move that tube. Keep that sucker right where it was. And put the hearing aid over the ear. Turn the volume to a comfortable level and have the very same sounds come out of the speaker again. At 55. And this time now you're measuring the Real Ear aided response. And then Real Ear aided minus Real Ear unaided was Real Ear insertion gain. And you see if the gain matches target. Now look at the red line on this slide. The red line on this slide is meant to imitate the letters A here completely. I did it on purpose. Okay? So these A's are sitting there at 30 over here. This line is sitting at 30 over here. Over here it's 20. Over here it's 20. Okay? Over here it's down at 10. Over here it's down at 10. So I'm doing that on purpose, okay? The fitting method targets did not change. What changes was the way it was verified. So this was, targets are the same as the previous slide, but Real Ear took about 5 minutes, whereas functional gain took about a half an hour. Okay, so the speed at which it was done was quicker. Something else to notice is that Real Ear is non-behavioral. The client has no control over that, okay? You're just physically measuring what's happening at the tympanic membrane, whereas over here, the guy's raising his hand. So this is a behavioral set of tests, a behavioral method of verifying the hearing aid fit, and this is the non-behavioral method of verifying the hearing aid fit. Okay, both showed whether you were hitting target. Here you'd want your letter A's to hit where your target was. Here you'd want your Real Ear insertion gain to hit where your target was. So functional gain, insertion gain. Functional gain, insertion gain. The year, 1988. And functional gain disappeared into the rear view mirror. It's hardly done anymore. There's a few old farts kicking around that are still doing it, but it's barely there anymore. Okay? So here's the old functional gain on the left, the guy's hearing loss. Here's your aided thresholds. And on the right, you're looking at insertion gain with Real Ear. And notice the numbers are exactly the same. And it's really to underline and highlight the point that the fitting method targets didn't change, just the measurement method changed. Note only one target because all hearing aids were linear. You get the same gain for all inputs. So who cares if this is 55, 65? They often chose 55 because average speech in DBHL is 55. But don't forget, this is not HL. This is all SPL. So they just chose 55 because it was nice. It was quiet, and yet it was above ambient room noise. So there was no interference. But please remember, the whole set of sweep tones, brrr, brrr, all were at 55. It's just that the outer ear canal resonance gave an extra 20 in these high frequencies, because that's just naturally what the outer ear does as a quarter wave resonator. Okay. You had a single target because the hearing aids were linear, and you really didn't care what they did with softer or louder sounds. The listener could adjust with his volume control. So you really didn't mind what the client did. Okay, you just wanted to be sure that you were hitting target. And remember, because the hearing aid's linear, it's going to give the same gain at all inputs. So the gain you're getting at 55 dB SPL inputs, even though that's not average speech, it doesn't matter because the hearing aid's giving the same gain at all inputs. So you want the gain to be given to be around half gain, and you can find half gain with a, you know, with any input level, the increase you're getting. So it's just, it's what I guess what I'm trying to say is the input level didn't really matter because linear hearing aids are giving the same gain at all inputs. So 55 was just a random, comfortable input level to choose. All right. So basically, you're trying to hit the target. Here may be your target, and here's what the hearing aid may have been doing. So maybe in doing this, you'd say, oh, I better increase my high frequency gain a bit. Oh, I better decrease my mid frequency gain a bit so that the output of the, or so that the gain of the hearing aid could match target. And always remember too that in Real Ear, your whole concern was gain. You didn't really talk about output. It was all the gain, purely If you gave half gain, you increased your thresholds by half. You did that because you wanted your output for average speech inputs to be sitting in the middle of your dynamic range. That's the only reason you gave half gain. But the focus was always gain here and here. Okay? And they did that because they, in the hope that the outputs would sit, inputs of average speech would be aided so that the input plus the half gain would equal an output that sat nicely in your dynamic range. But always remember that early real ear focused on gain, just like functional gain did. Same. Functional gain, insertion gain. Good. Early days of real ear measurement, we looked big time at outer ear canal resonance. Here's the detailed picture. You may have seen this before, but check it out again, okay? Number 5, right, what I'm circling here is the ear canal resonance. Number 3 is the concha bowl resonance. So the number 3 is just my ear canal that you can't even see. And number 5 is the bowl. The resonance of the concha is 5 to 6,000 hertz. So when you put the resonance of the ear canal plus the resonance of the concha together, 5 and 3, you get your T for total. And notice how your T for total looks an awful lot like this. It's worth about 20 dB. And if we go to this slide here, it's worth about 20 dB. So always remember, when you're sticking a probe into an open ear, it's not just the resonance of the ear canal, but it's the resonance of the whole ding-dong show. The ear canal, the concha, the helix, the whole ear. All right. Now, another thing to notice is, looking at this slide here, this helps you determine how close the end of the tube is to the eardrum. Because the further away the tube is from the eardrum, the more you're going to lose highs. So look at this picture carefully. This indicates centimeters from the TM, centimeters from the drum, 1 centimeter, 2 centimeters, 3 centimeters, and this represents the loss or drop in dB as the tube is moved further from the TM. So if the tube is not really close to the drum, you're going to really lose 8,000 hertz if it's 1 centimeter away. You're not going to lose much at 1,000 hertz at all. Okay? So if you're too far away, a centimeter is too far. It should be less than that. It should be half a centimeter. What's half a centimeter? 5 millimeters. What's this? This is a bouquet of these. Okay? So if this is a centimeter, a half a centimeter is 5 millimeters. So think of half a fingernail. Okay? The end of the tube should be about half a fingernail away from the eardrum. And the further away it is, the more loss you get to the high frequencies of that resonance. So if the tube is too far away from the drum, the first thing you're going to see is the loss here. And this part of the resonance will disappear. Move the tube further away, this part of the resonance disappears. So in a weird way, looking at the shape of the outer ear canal resonance also helps you determine whether the tube is placed in properly. And that's one of the uses we still have of the real ear unaided response, or outer ear canal resonance. We can look at that, and it should have a shape much like this. If it doesn't have a shape a lot like this, it's probably because the tube is not inserted all the way down to the drum. So this is a way of non-visually calibrating how far the tube is in the ear canal. It has its uses. Real ear measurement allows clinicians to objectively see the effects of ear mold changes. You can objectively see the effects of changed hearing aid settings. You don't need to sit there relying on subjective verbal reports like, how does that sound? How does that sound? Oh my gosh, I've been to clinics and you're sitting there watching the clinician ask the client, so how does that sound? Or here's a better one. You gotta like this one. Client says, my old age my new hearing aids just don't sound like my old ones. And you see the clinician trying and trying to make the new hearing aids sound like the old ones. Why not just do real ear on the old hearing aids and then program the new hearing aids to match what the real ear did on the old aids? I mean, seems to me a way better way than sitting there going, how does that sound? And then making a change. Okay, how's that sound? And I've watched clinicians in 2019 still doing that. It's because they're not using real ear. Idiots. Okay, if you want to match that, and one of the hardest things out there is trying to get a client to adjust him or herself to the new hearing aids. New hearing aids sound different from the old ones, and the person has fallen in love with the sound of his old hearing aids, and he wants the new ones often to sound a lot like it. So it's a strange thing when you're not doing real ear, you've got no objective measurements. So real ear allows you to get away from purely subjective verbal reports of how does that sound. You can actually see the sources of complaints and store the results for future comparison. It enables you to compare different fitting methods quickly. You can program a hearing aid according to DSL, program it according to now, and you can just see the differences. Let's look at some terms and procedures, some measurements or some ones. And before anybody freaks out, it's not that you always have to hit the targets, because that may not be necessarily what the client wants. I mean, early clients, when they're first being fit with hearing aids, they don't want to hit the target. You should underfit. Okay? Do real ear and deliberately come shy of targets. And as the person gets used to the hearing aid, then you can increase the output of the hearing aid to more match the targets. So first-time hearing aid wearers often don't want you to be able to match the target of the fitting method. That's like stepping into the deep end of the pool. But right, wrong, or indifferently, real ear measurement allows you to see what the client hears. I mean, how does that sound only goes so far. Common objections to using real ear measurement. Check this out. Common objections. The equipment's too expensive. Well, it starts around $3,000. What do people generally earn when they sell hearing aids? If you sold a pair of hearing aids, you've probably earned about $1,500 to $2,000, because that's generally the markup on hearing aids. So if you sold a pair of hearing aids, you've just about earned enough money to buy a real ear system. So that objection to using real ear doesn't really cut it. It's kind of like, here's another one. I don't have to. Look closely at your bylaws. It's rapidly becoming preferred practice. Audiologists don't have to. Imagine offering better services than them. I prefer to use client satisfaction scales. How this trumps objective measurement is beyond me. Why should I? My competition doesn't. God forbid you do better than they do. I listen to my clients. I'm so darn good, I don't need real ear measurement. REM is a waste of time. Actually, it gives you a lot of info for some 10, 12 minutes of time. Manufacturer software already does the work. See the rest of this presentation. So there's a few things in there. Just first things first. When you're doing real ear, look into someone's ear. Always, 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 before you put anything in someone's ear, look in the ear with an otoscope. You may not want to do the real ear because there's too much wax. Okay, if there's too much wax, it's going to plug up the tube right away. And you're going to be trying to slide and you're hitting that thing and you pull out the tube and it's full of wax and you think, ah, man, that was a waste of a tube, because they cost $1.50 each. So you can't reuse them. So just look in the person's ear and determine whether there's any two eyes looking back at you or what have you. You know, you want to know what's going down. So otoscopic exam first, and then calibrate your real ear system, just like regular ANSI testing does. Calibration removes the effects of the probe tube itself. We'll talk about that. Loudspeaker location. The person sits about half a yard, 1.5 feet away from the speaker. Usually fairly straight on. Don't do it sideways. It's usually from a 45-degree angle or straight on is generally the location of the speaker. Now here's an old real ear system. Look at this puppy. Here you go. Here's the screen where you saw what was going on. And the speaker emitted tones from right here. You can see you could do ANSI testing, 2cc couplers, but you also did real ear measurement with this. Here's a newer real ear system. In this box here, you can do ANSI testing, and here's the speakers on the top. So the speakers are what's delivering the sound to the guy this time. Here's the components and parts of real ear. First, you have the speakers. And notice the box here if you were doing ANSI testing. Now you've got the loops that hang around the ears, the right and the left. Now on the right and the left, you're going to see two things. You're going to see a reference mic and a probe mic. Here's another real ear system. Okay, take a look at this probe assembly. This is the heart and soul of real ear. The loop is what hangs around the guy's ear. The box has two mics on it. Here's the reference mic, right where my cursor is. And here's the probe mic under this red thing. Calibration, you're taking the tube and you're folding it over and you're laying it right in these two little posts so that the tip is laying right on top of the reference mic. Once you have that, you hold that about 18 inches away from the speaker and let the sound come out of the speaker. Okay, now you've calibrated it. Why have you done that? You've calibrated it to get rid of the effects of the tube in the ear. You did it to get rid of this. Because remember, this is a small space. And this tube is going to affect things. So when you calibrate before you do a client, you're getting rid of the effects of the tube in the ear canal. That is why you calibrate before doing real ear. Okay? Here's another picture of calibration. They're taking the probe tube and they're laying it on top of the reference mic, holding the assembly 18 inches from the speaker, right where the client's head is eventually going to be. And you usually calibrate your real ear system about once a week or in the morning before you see clients. So you can do it on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, whatever. The job of the reference mic. What is the job of a reference mic? Why do you have a reference mic? So let's point at this little guy right here. Why do you have that? You have that to make sure that the sound level at the ear is constant. Here's what you're doing. Watch. Here's the sound coming from the speakers. If the guy's sitting 18 inches away from the speaker and you've got the speakers to set out to be putting out 60 dB, if the speakers are putting out 60, what's being picked up at the guy's ear? You want 60. Okay? If he moves closer to the speakers are going to get softer. If he moves further away, the speakers are going to get louder. Why? To maintain 60. And what's making the speakers maintain 60? The reference mic. That little one sitting in the middle of the black box. That reference mic is picking up the sound from the speakers and it's making the speakers behave themselves. Okay, so the job of the reference mic is to make sure that the sound pressure at the ear canal is constant. That's why you got them. Okay, when you're calibrating in the morning, as I said, you're going to lay that tube on top of the reference mic and go for it. Have it 18 inches away to get rid of the effects of the tube. And calibration on various systems, all systems are going to have a different look. And the Real Ear system that you get is going to give you a visual as to whether it's calibrated correctly. On the old systems, if you saw this line looking like this with two little bumps down below over here, yep, you were good to go. You'd calibrated it correctly. Other systems, this line is going to look different. Doesn't matter. Whatever system you buy doing Real Ear, it's going to give you a visual as to whether the calibration was done correctly. All right. Probe tube placement. Now here's something else. You got to place that tube less than 1/4 inch from the tympanic membrane. This ensures that the high frequencies of the resonance are captured. Remember that? Remember we said that? Place the tip about 1/4 inch or less beyond the tip of the hearing aid. Don't do this with CICs, that could hurt. Okay? Here's what happens. I'll show you a trick. See the ring here? That little ring. What you're doing is you're laying the tube across this black box so that the tip of the tube is here, and then you're going to look at where the tube is here, and that's where you'll put the ring. So if you're looking here at this picture, if this ring was sitting here at the edge of this black box, the end of the tube would be sitting right here. So the length of the black box is meant to imitate 29 millimeters or 30 millimeters. Why? Why is that so terribly important? That's important because it helps to ensure the location of the tube. So I'll say it again. You're laying the tube on the black box so that the tip is right here, and wherever the tube is here, that's where you're going to put the ring. So now you know that that ring and the black box is exactly 29 millimeters long. So when you have the tip of the tube here and the ring, and you're laying the tube across the black box and you're putting the ring right there, you know that the ring is going to be 29 millimeters from the end of the tip. Good. Why are you doing that? Because, see, here it is. 29 millimeters, that's the length of the box. So when you lay the tube that way and you put the ring in its place, now you can do Real Ear and lay the ring right at the tragus. So if the ring is sitting there right at the tragus, right with this little bump that goes down, if you put your finger in your ear right at that little, the little U-shaped drop there, if the tube is sitting, if the ring is sitting there, then you know that the tip of the tube will be within 1/4 inch of the eardrum. Okay? So that's why it's so important to place that ring properly. It's the length of the black box. They make that little black box its exact length on purpose. So that laying the tube on the box, putting the ring at the other end of the black box, that ensures that when you put it in the ear, if the ring is at the tragus, the tip of the tube is right near the eardrum, right where it's supposed to be. So a pictorial view of it is this. Okay, you've got the ring at the tragus, and now you know that the tube, 29 millimeters, the end is going to be real nice and close to the eardrum. Fighting cavities is the whole idea behind Crest. Well, this is the whole idea behind that little ring. Okay, so that's what we're doing today, is you're looking at basics of doing Real Ear. And all these basics of doing Real Ear were not discovered today. They were all discovered yesterday. And that's why it's so important to look at yesterday's Real Ear, because it helps you realize you get to where you got today. And I can see Sam's just gotten back. You haven't missed a darn thing. I've been lying the whole time. Actually, what I've been talking about is the importance of placing that ring on the length of the box, because it helps ensure where the tip of the tube will be. So in that wise, the purpose of today's Zoom session is really looking at some of the nuts and bolts of Real Ear measurement, and we still do that today. This is not something that we did all yesterday. This is what they invented yesterday, but we're doing it today. So So the length of the mic assembly box makes certain that that ring is 29 millimeters from the end. And that will ensure that the tip of the tube is about a 1/4 inch or less away from the tympanic membrane. Here's an actual photograph of what it might look like looking at it close up. Now, those who've done real ear, like Sam, this is nothing new. But to students coming out who haven't been doing much real ear, have a good look at this, okay? This is what it should look like. The rubber ring or thing hanging around the ear. There's your probe mic is right below here. I can't quite show it. It's just below those 2 little posts, okay? I should say that's the reference mic is down here. That's the one that makes sure the sound from the speakers is behaving itself, okay? Making sure that if you set it at 60, 60 is what's coming out of the speaker. Right underneath this red thing here, these tubes are replaceable. You can pull up this little red thing and you'll see a little little steel thing sticking out of the box. That little steel thing sticking out of the box is the probe mic. Reference mic where my cursor is, probe mic here. Shown on the assembly here, reference mic, probe mic. Okay, so the reference mic is making sure that the sound coming out of the speakers is what you set it at. The probe mic is using this tube to measure what's actually taking place at your eardrum. Okay, so when the rubber ring is sitting there right at your tragus, you know that the tip of the probe tube is where it ought to be. So here's the terms encountered in old real ear. Real ear unaided, real ear aided, real ear insertion gain, real ear occluded response. So check these out. Real ear unaided. We got about 10 minutes left and then we're G for gonzo. Hang on here. Okay. Real ear unaided response. I should put my foot up on the filing cabinet. They told me I got to keep my foot elevated. All right, we'll do that. All right, here we go. Real ear unaided response. The output SPL at each frequency measured in the open ear canal for any specific input sounds. How to do it? Look in the ear, sit the client a half a meter in front of the speaker, put the probe tube within a 1/4 inch of the eardrum, choose your input level above room ambient noise level. This would be at least 55. Present the sweep tones or the noise. Now remember, this is yesterday's real ear. Today's real ear uses speech or speech-like stimuli, okay? We didn't do that in the past. We used sweep tones. Don't think about brooms, okay? It's got nothing to do with sweeping dust out of the corners. A sweep tone is just covering all the frequencies and measure the resultant REUR. It was done to provide reference for subsequent gain measures, for example, real ear insertion gain measures, as required by some fitting methods, e.g. NAL-R. It represents unaided SPL at or near the drum, and it can also show abnormalities in the ear canal. So if you're an abnormal person like Sam Christensen, God knows what you're going to get, okay? But if I'm just teasing, or if somebody had mastoid surgery or a perforated TM, you'd notice a really weird looking REUR. It wouldn't look like a normal one. Here's an odd looking REUR. Look at this one, Twin Peaks, okay? A little bit different from average, but what's the input sound? 55. Here it comes out, 55. 55, 55, 55, and suddenly when you get past 1,000 hertz, there's that lift, and then a dip here and a lift happening here. What would happen if the end of the tube was situated further than a 1/4 inch from the TM? You'd lose the high frequency edge of the real ear unaided response. Now, when you take a hearing aid, so here's someone's unaided ear canal response. If you take a hearing aid and put it in the ear, you have driven a truck over top of the real ear unaided response. So if this is someone's hearing loss going down, in all actuality, you've lost some of that resonance because you've plugged up the ear with a hearing aid, oddly enough. Anyway, real ear aided. So the hearing aid has to make up for that lost resonance because you've now plugged up the ear with a hearing aid. The second measurement you did in old real ear was real ear aided response. Holding the tube carefully in place, put the hearing aid on top, turn its volume to a proper level, run the very same sweep tones in. Don't change the level of the tone. It has to be exactly the same. Now you're looking at what's happening in the ear canal with the hearing aid in place and turned on. How was it done? Just as I described. Turn the volume control, if your hearing aid had one, to the listener's user level. Use exactly the same input level as you did for real ear unaided. It was done to provide reference for subsequent gain measures because REAR minus REUR equals insertion gain. Compression-based fitting methods have several targets for different input levels, so you'd have to do your real ear aided response for various input levels to find out what your compression was doing for gain. But in those days, hearing aids were linear, and they gave the same gain for all inputs, so you really didn't care. How to do real ear insertion gain? Your computer did this automatically. It subtracted REUR from REAR, and it gave you insertion gain. It was the difference between these two at each frequency. But read what it says here. It tells nothing about the audibility of speech. Nada. It tells you nothing. Watch. Here's a picture of doing real ear unaided response. Now, can either of you tell me what's wrong with this picture? When you look at this picture here, what is wrong with it? Could you see that? I'll show it to you again. What the heck is wrong with this picture here? The tube is too far. That's way too far away from the guy's eardrum. But this was doing good old REUR, and then they did real ear aided, and the difference was real ear insertion gain. This is essentially, here's my picture out of my book, same thing. REUR, real ear aided, so REAR minus REUR equals real ear insertion gain. And to define that and make sure we have our definition straight, what's the difference? What's functional gain? The difference between aided and unaided hearing thresholds. What's insertion gain? You can plug your nose while you say this one. It's the difference between aided and unaided SPL at the eardrum. Okay? Functional gain, the difference between aided and unaided hearing thresholds. Insertion gain, the difference between aided and unaided SPL at the drum. The numbers should be exactly the same. For any fitting method matched to any particular hearing loss, the numbers for functional gain should be exactly the same as the numbers for insertion gain. It's just that functional gain is a behavioral measure, and insertion gain was a non-behavioral measure. And it really took the time off of doing hearing aids. It really saved a lot of time. But people had a bone to pick with REUR. Why? Because REUR is not being used in a hearing test. When you're doing a hearing test, you're putting headphones on the ear. As soon as you put headphones on the ear, you killed the REUR. As soon as you put headphones on the ear, it's like I took this coffee cup and I put my hand on it. It's no longer a quarter wave resonator anymore. Sorry, bro, your REUR is gone. So if you didn't use the REUR in a hearing test, then why the Sam Hill are you using it in a hearing aid test? That was the bone to pick with early real ear. That's why today's real ear threw it in the wastebasket. It's the stupidest counseling tool you have ever met in your lives. So when I look at this, and we'll finish this by showing this particular picture here, okay? When you look at something like this, What does that tell about audibility of speech? Look at that picture. Tells you nothing. It's probably the stupidest counseling tool in the entire frickin' world. Because you've got REUR, real ear aided, and the difference, real ear insertion gain. How does that explain the use of a hearing aid to someone who's paying $6,000 for a pair of hearing aids? Problem is, it doesn't. So there's two things wrong with this. The first thing wrong with this is you're using REUR when you didn't use it testing hearing. Okay, REUR, the only time you'd ever have REUR taking place in a hearing test is if you did the hearing test in a sound field. And you had the guy sitting there with no headphones on, and you're testing his thresholds in front of a speaker. Well, if you're doing that, yeah, now you are using the open unaided ear canal resonance. Now your cup isn't closed at both ends. Now it really is a quarter wave resonator. But who's testing thresholds in a sound field? Nobody I know. So two things wrong with old real ear. First, it's using real ear unaided response when it wasn't used in the hearing test. And secondly, it's the crummiest counseling tool in the entire world. And that's what Richard Seewald found wrong with it. And that's why he developed the DSL fitting method. It came out of testing children in Nova Scotia, Canada. And he's an American, by the way. He wasn't Canadian. He just happened to be working in Nova Scotia, Canada, Maritime Province. And the parents and teachers of the kids, if you looked at an insertion gain, they would ask, what does that mean? And he'd say, oh, it means we're matching target. We're doing, what does that mean? It doesn't explain in lay people's language what the hearing aid is doing. What parts of speech could you not hear before you had the hearing aid? And what parts of speech can you now hear because you've got the hearing aid? And that's what today's speech mapping does. Today's real ear is a great counseling tool, because you can see exactly the difference between the speech that the guy couldn't hear without the hearing aids, and now you can show the parts of speech that the guy can hear with the hearing aid. You can literally see long-term average speech spectrum, and you can see the guy's thresholds crossing it, and all the high-frequency consonants are missing. And then when you're aiding, you want to lift those up where they belong. Okay, so counseling tool is better with speech mapping today, and the fact that REUR isn't even used in a hearing test is another critical flaw. Well, all right then. Well, see you when I look at you. It's time for a beer. I've had 3 coffees already. I'll stop recording here, and we'll see you all when we look at you. Hey, Sam, are you going to MHS conference or no?
You betcha, sir. I'll meet you there.
We'll see you there. And Rod, too bad we won't see you, but I know I'll see you soon sometime. So good stuff. Thanks to both of you for showing up. It's always better than talking to an empty computer screen. All right, I'll stop recording now.